Good morning, dear friends. I am back at the Topkapi Palace, and this time it seems it is open to the public. From the 1460s until 1856, when the Dolmabahce Palace was completed, this palace was the main residence of the sultans and the real center of the Ottoman power. Today, as in the times of Sultan Mehmet II, the palace is accessed through the Imperial Gate. The gate dates back to 1478, even though the marble that is covering it was placed in the 19th century. The upper part is adorned with Islamic calligraphic elements, mainly verses from the Quran. Once the Imperial Gate is crossed, the visitor finds himself or herself catapulted into the first courtyard. The Topkapi Palace was developed around 4 courtyards, each one with its own characteristics. The first courtyard is the largest one of the 4. It functioned mainly as an outer park, where the Janissaries held their parades in honor of the Sultan or the foreign dignitaries visiting Constantinople. The only 2 remaining structures are the Church of Santa Irene, which we will visit at the end, and the old Imperial Mint. The first courtyard ends with the Gate of Salutation. It is a massive gate with battlements on top and flanked by 2 big pointed octagonal towers. The gate is richly decorated by Ottoman calligraphic elements representing the monogram of Sultan Mehmet II and verses from the Quran. The Gate of Salutation, or Middle Gate, gives access to the second courtyard. We can now say that we are really entering the palace. Unlike the first courtyard, which was surrounded by the walls, the second courtyard is surrounded by the kitchens to the south and the harem, the Imperial Council Hall, the Janissary quarters, and the Palace Hospital to the north. What you see here is the Imperial Council Hall, also known as the Divan, and the Tower of Justice above it. On the left, instead, is the entrance to the harem, which housed all the women of the palace. The Imperial Council building is where the Grand Vizier and his minister held meetings. First built during the reign of Mehmet II, the present building dates back to the reign of Suleiman the Magnificent. The Sultan never attended the council meetings, but listened to its deliberations from behind this window. There are two entrances to the council hall from the courtyard. The portico is formed by marble and porphyry pillars, with a green and white wooden ceiling decorated with gold. The entrances into the hall are in the Rococo style, with gilded grilles to admit natural light. Next to the council hall, the clock collection of the Sultan is on display. In the outer treasury building, the arms collection is housed. It is probably the largest collection of Islamic weapons in the world, with pieces spanning from the times of Prophet Muhammad all the way to the 20th century. We have now reached the Gate of Felicity, which marks the end of the second courtyard and the entrance into the third courtyard. The gate was most likely built by Mehmed II in the 15th century. 300 years later, it was redecorated in the Rococo style. Verses from the Quran and Sultan's monograms are the ornaments of its upper part. The ceiling is partly painted and gold-leafed, with a golden ball hanging from the middle. Right behind the Gate of Felicity is Audience Chamber. It's an Ottoman kiosk, surrounded by 22 columns supporting a large roof. The Sultan's received his visitors here, sitting on his throne. Above the main door, we find an inscription with the common Muslim benediction, meaning, "In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful," also known as Bismillah.
What you see here instead is the Library of Sultan Ahmed III. The library is an example of Ottoman architecture of the 18th century. The exterior of the building is faced with marble. The library has the form of a Greek cross with a domed central hall and 3 rectangular bays. The fourth arm of the cross consists of the porch, which can be approached by a flight of stairs on either side. Beneath the central arch of the portico is an elaborate drinking fountain with niches on each side. The building is set on a low basement to protect the precious books of the library against moisture. The walls above the windows are covered with gorgeous tiles from Iznik with many different designs. The library used to contain more than 3,500 manuscripts about theology and Islamic law. Behind this door, Islamic holy relics are housed, and unfortunately, it is forbidden to film. The garden of the third courtyard is so lush and gorgeous. They have really created a piece of paradise in here. Here we have a museum dedicated to Islamic and Ottoman calligraphy. Some precious copies of the Holy Quran are also displayed here. I am now entering the Conqueror's Pavilion. Built around 1460, it is one of the oldest buildings of the entire complex. It was built on top of a promontory right above a cliff, with view on the Sea of Marmara and the Bosphorus. The imperial treasury is housed here. Unfortunately, the video doesn't even come close to render the beauty of the objects exhibited here. The collection is truly magnificent. I have now arrived to the fourth courtyard. There is no gate that separates it from the third courtyard. It is a sort of a private sanctuary reserved to the Sultan and his immediate family. It is formed by many pavilions, and in this video I will show you the most important ones. While the previous courtyards were more centered on the conduct of state affairs, the fourth courtyard is something much more private and centered on leisure, pleasure, and enjoyment. The first pavilion I am visiting is the Baghdad Pavilion. It was built to celebrate the Baghdad campaign of Sultan Murad IV, which took place in 1638. The facade in its lower part is covered with marble, porphyry, and verde antique. The upper part instead is covered with Iznik tiles. The interior is nothing less than gorgeous. It represents the ideal Ottoman room. The walls are covered with white and blue tiles. The doors present a highly elaborate inlay work, while the embedded shelves and cupboards are covered with green, yellow, and blue tiles dating back to the early 16th century. What would a sultan do without his throne? I will now visit the circumcision room, added in 1640 by Ibrahim I. In this room, young princes were in fact circumcised. Isn't this colonnade anything short of delightful? And now I am entering the last pavilion, the Yerevan Pavilion. The beauty of this place is overwhelming, breathtaking, astounding. It's like entering a tale from the 1001 Nights. It's the charm of the Orient in its essence. It was built between 1635 and 1636 under the reign of Murad IV. It was used for religious retreats. I can't do anything but admire the finesse and the sophistication of these decorations. In order not to make a video that is too long, I think it is better to end the video now and leave the remaining parts of the palace to the next video. In the next video, I will be visiting the kitchens, the harem, and the Church of Santa Irene. This palace is huge, therefore there are some parts that I have inevitably missed or voluntarily skipped. Nonetheless, I think I have covered the essentials. I hope that you have enjoyed so far, and I hope to see you soon with my next video. Goodbye.